This video will give an introduction to the multi-plot in location. So I have my design open here, and when I want to format my drawing, put together that drawing package, I'm going to switch over to my multi-plot editor. There we are. And in this case I have a document already set up, and we can use that as a starting point to discuss. So here I've got my plan over profile view, and here I've got my cross-section views. So we can see we have pages inside a chapter, inside a workbook. Now we can add in new chapters if we'd like. So we can do that by going up here, and we can click Add New, and we can bring in a chapter that we've already saved. If we haven't already saved a chapter, we can add in the blank one, use that as a starting point. Or we could go to the Access Web Library if we'd like to use a pre-formatted document as a starting point, and we can grab that, and let's select that. So there we are. Now this doesn't have anything on it other than a neat line with text box information. If I want that to appear at the start of my document, I can right click that chapter and shift it up to the start. So now that's page 1, then my plan over profiles 2, etc. I can make edits, so I can just double click and I can modify that text however I'd like. And let's look at the behavior of pages inside chapters. So if I want to add in either a subview or a text box, I can select that chapter and I can add that in. So I'm going to just select my cross-section chapter. I'm going to click New Rectangle. I'm going to add text example just so we can see what we've done. So I've added that in. I'm not going to worry about formatting. I'm going to position it wherever I see fit. And we've added that in. Now I can go to my page 3, I can see it's there, and I can go to page 4 and I can see that it's there. Now if I wanted that text box to just show up on one page, I can do that. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to select page 4 and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to click that. Now I get a warning, the subview will only be visible on the current page. I'll click continue. I'll type in text example. And if we wanted to, we can change the font. So I'll just change the font so it's a little easier to see what we're dealing with. And there we are. So I've added that text box into this page, and we can see that it's not visible on the other pages within the chapter. So that's great for calling out individual details, but it's giving us an indication that it's only visible on this page with that little green triangle in the upper right corner. Now that little green triangle is just that. It's just giving us the indicator that it's there. If we want to print, I'm just going to set my printer to be the right size. We'll go to the end. We can see that that little text box with the green triangle, the text box is visible, but the green triangle is not going to show up in the print. So there we are. We know how to add those views into our document. Another thing that's useful when we're building these documents out is to be able to unlock and lock your items. So I'm going to just turn this Edit Locked Items off. And I can come up here, and if I want to select my cross-section subview, I can. And if I want to move that around, I can. I can just click and drag and it goes wherever I'd like it to. If I have that exactly where I'd like it to be, but I don't want to accidentally bump it, I can click Locked Position. So now I can make changes to the settings, but I'm not going to accidentally move it off of that grid line that I'd like it to be on. Now if I want to even further control that, I can also go to Locked Fully, in which case if I double click that view, it's not going to give me access to that subview. But I can get access by clicking Edit Locked Items up here. Another thing that's nice to work with here is I have my grid turned on. So if I just come outside of any of my text boxes and double click, I can see I've got the multi-plot options. I have snap to grid turned on, show grid, and I have my grid set to what I'd like. So that just makes it easier to line things up. For example, I'm on my 5 mil grid, not up there, or not just slightly off of it, which doesn't look very nice. That grid will not display when you print. Another item worth mentioning is the how we control what shows up within a given chapter. So in my cross-section view, just while we're working with this, I can select that sub-view. And right now I can see I've got station 0, station 20, station 40, etc. If I want to add more report points or cross-sections, I can go to my Layout tab. With that sub-view selected, I can choose my point types, and rather than showing just 20 meter intervals, let's turn on auto interval 5 and anywhere we've added a colored insertion point. So we'll hit OK, and we can see we've got a longer document now to pick up every 5 meters and anywhere that we've added a culvert. So culvert report point is at 36.2 in this case. Another thing that's useful here is if we don't want to show the entire alignment in our chapter, we can isolate that. So we can go over here, right click on the chapter, Pagination Options. So I have it set to use the entire stationing from dot dot to dot dot, and it's choosing how much to include on each sheet based off of the sections. Now if I am only interested in a certain chunk of my road, let's go station 100 to 250. We'll hit OK. We see we got fewer pages and it's starting at station 100. So it's not going to cycle through the entire roadway. This is similar on the other pages. So my plan over profile, we can go into our pagination options. Now this, we can fit it all on one sheet, but that's the behavior is the same idea. Now with this though, it may be that we want to adjust the position for an individual view. So this is automatically scrolled. So if I select my plan subview, if I go up to scroll, I can see auto's turned on. So if we have a longer alignment, it's going to cycle through and follow the alignment each page. So if I can only fit the first 500 meters on the first page, the next page will pick up with a little bit of overlap, the 500 onward, and so on and so forth. Now for this, if I want to center that in the middle of my page, I could go in here and I could tabularly move that. I could say, let's make that minus 100. And we can move that around that way. We could do it based off coordinates as well. Or with that subview selected, I can hold in Shift on my keyboard and use the arrow keys on my keyboard to move that around, down, however we like. So that's Shift. If I hold Control, we can rotate. It's pretty easy to get the functionality you'd like. Now, once you get your document set up the way you'd like, and you can add whatever you'd like as far as legends, scales, images, etc. You aren't just stuck with it and having to rebuild this document every time. So we can come up here, we can hit File or Multiplot, and we can hit Save Chapter. So that's the chapter. Or if we want this entire workbook saved as a document, we can click Save Book Layout, and then we can bring that in for our next project, and we can have a nice starting off point to work with.